unthinkable. Imagine the fleeting moments with your children, watching them grow up, but due to a life-altering condition, they'll never be able to see you again. That is the real life story of Edith Lemay, a mother with who her husband, Sébastien, took their children on a world tour to create visual memories before three of her children lose sight. Edmund Stenson, the director who captured this incredible journey in the documentary Blink, witnessed the emotional journey, and they both join me today. The National Geographic documentary film arrives in theaters Friday, October 4th. Edith and Edmund, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure.
You. So happy to be here.
Edith, when you first heard of this diagnosis for three out of your four children, what was going through your mind?
It was a shock, really. You never imagine that something like that can happen to you and your family. And really, I think I had to grieve a lot. But because when you have kids, you always envision a future for them and for your family. Of course, you know it's not going to be exactly like that, but still, you always have hopes for the future. And all of a sudden, with that diagnosis, it erased it all. All of a sudden, it was like a blank page, and I needed to like rethink the future. So it was a very hard process to go through.
Absolutely. I mean, as a mother, this must have just been such a teeter-totter of emotions, right? I mean, you find out about this and then you want to show your children the world. How did you experience this sadness of the diagnosis? I mean, how do you balance these emotions?
Um, well, you do what you can, I think. I think it's important to accept them and accept the sadness and the anger that's going to come, and just to like go with it. And then when you let those feeling go, it makes it easier. When you come to accept this situation, accept that you can't change it, and stop fighting it, and just look at it and decide, okay, like here's the situation. What can I do for my kids now? That's when beautiful project can come on.
Yes. Edmund, you've not only gone inside this family's home, you've traveled the world with them. You've done what almost seems impossible, right? I mean, you've held on to the humanity in this family's story, but you make sure that it stays whole for the screen. How do you do it?
Thank you for such lovely words. It's a lovely thing to say. I, you know, from the get-go, we knew that this was going to be a uh, a film that was we wanted to move beyond a travel log. We wanted to tell this rich, familiar, and emotional story, and it meant that the most important thing for us to do was get close to the family and more specifically, get close to the children. Children, I love kids. You know, you can't make this film if you don't love kids. And our director of photography, who was integral in making the film look and feel the way it does, is also incredible with children. He was like an uncle to the kids. And, I think Edith and Sébastien will say that when we come on shoots with the family, it was almost like friends joining the kids. And we made it our priority to integrate with the family as best we could, and to do things as simply as keeping the camera low so that you felt as much like you were in the kids' experience. Because this is very much a tale which is balancing the emotional journey of the parents who deal with the condition with a more childlike wonder, and in an almost Terence Malickian sense of like seeing the natural world and experiencing it for the first time.
That's so beautiful to create this connection between everyone. Grieving is so hard as it is, going through the grieving journey and like you said, capturing that and the acceptance. Edmund, you said that you kind of went through your own grieving process in a way while filming. I'm curious to ask you, how do you capture a stillness in this acceptance?
It's a good question. I think from a practical logistical point of view, and if I'm misunderstanding the question, please correct me. We tried to find backdrops that could help tell those kind of emotional interior stories. I think of great melodramas and great fiction films who often use their backdrops as ways of expressing character interiority. And so, you know, when we think of the desert, we think of a kind of spiritual retreat. So it was natural that Edith would spend that time reflecting on some of the kind of acceptance portions of her journey with grief as she looks to this new future with her children. So for me, it was just finding landscapes that could help do that work of articulating the interior lives of our characters. Does that answer the question?
It does. Yes. Thank you. Edith, you've been on a whirlwind of a world trip and your emotions. What have your children taught you in this moment about love and loss?
Well, my children inspired me so much to be strong, especially my daughter, because when she got the diagnosis, when we announced her what was coming for her, she was calm and positive, and she just focused on the solution. And when you're 7 years old, is so strong. You can't be weak. It teach me how to be strong for her and for my boys as well.
I'm so inspired by this story, Edith. I'm sending you and your family so much love and light, you know, as you're traveling through this time, as you're navigating this trying time. Thank you for sharing your story. And I can only imagine how open and vulnerable you and your family have had to be to capture your incredible world travels, your world journey. Edmund, you have the courage to go into this story and to many other stories. You're a documentarian. Thank you for going into these spaces and telling these heart-provoking stories. Thank you both so much for being here.
Well, thank you
It was
for
a great pleasure.
thank you for the lovely questions and for being so invested. And thank you so much.
Thank you. The National Geographic documentary film Blink arrives in theaters Friday, October 4th.